The price of farmland is soaring in Canada, and it's just another thing threatening our food production. Farmland values have quadrupled in price over the last 20 years. That's preventing many from entering the farming industry. In response, the National Farmers Union is now pushing for a guaranteed annual income to help keep this industry afloat. Joining us this morning with more details is Phil Mount. He's the Vice President of Policy at the National Farmers Union. Great to have you here with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
This might be a new idea for people, so please set it up for us. Give us some of the details of this guaranteed annual income plan. How will it work?
Well, the main reason for calling for this guaranteed annual income, as you mentioned, is especially the difficulty for new and young farmers getting into the industry. And so what the membership is called for is a guaranteed income of $50,000 a year for the first 10 years. And that's on, obviously, on farms whose profits are less than $50,000 a year. So we're not talking about handouts for large corporate farms here. This is for new and young people who have, you know, as you mentioned, a particularly difficult time now, given the rising costs, not just of farmland, as you mentioned, but of inputs, which have been soaring in price over the last 5 years, particularly.
I think it might be a surprise to people, and I'd love for you to be able to reveal this for us, just how much it costs to actually farm. These are small, medium, and large businesses, and there's so many associated costs people don't think about. Buying seeds, equipment, paying staff. Can you break down for us a bit, what does it actually cost to own and run a farm in Canada?
Well, that's a huge question, Anne-Marie, because of course, it all depends which sector the farm is in. So, for example, my wife and I are sheep farmers, and we have costs that other farmers won't have. But I'll say, like, the price of going to the abattoir, for example, has gone up by a third just in the last 5 years. But of course, you know, most farms will have costs like fuel. Others have separate costs, like crop farmers might have costs of propane to dry their crops, or So it does depend on the sector, but as you say, it just seems to go on and on. There are no end to the income prices, the input prices on farms.
And they're not small costs either, always in the thousands. Net income for Canadian farmers fell, we know, by more than a quarter last year, so $3.3 billion. That is the largest decrease since 2018. So how far would $50,000 go in addressing the costs that farmers are facing, particular as we've done stories on this show, climate change is also affecting growing seasons as well?
Well, this is it, Anne-Marie, and so what we're not anticipating the $50,000 is going to do is set farmers up for their retirement. This is really just to actually keep them afloat for the first 10 years, when we know it's particularly difficult for farmers who are trying to reinvest in their farms and grow them and make them stable over the long term. It can be so difficult in those first 10 years, and so that's really all we're looking for here. As I say, we're not expecting this is going to set folks up for retirement. It's just to basically keep them afloat.
Yeah, it's patching the roof. It's not replacing it. But it's important because it's the base of our food production in this country. The National Farmers Union is also calling for a cap on profits for Canada's major grocery chain. Why? Connect those dots for us. Why is that something that you're also pushing for?
Well, so one of the main reasons that farms are having difficulty is the value of the return that they're getting for what they're producing is not rising at the same rate as their costs. But that's been the case for 50 years now, and we haven't addressed it in this country. But the problem is on the price side, they're getting more and more concentrated. So the folks who are buying our produce are getting more and more concentrated, which in turn affects the price that they're paying. And we see in this country, we're down to 4 retailers in pretty much any province you go to. And so the retailers are so large, they're pushing the prices down, and we know that. And so what we're calling for there is a cap on the profits of these large grocery retailers. I mean, it's not just affecting us here. We're starting to see it now in the U.S. as well. Forbes has just done a large article on how grocery prices there have jumped 25% in just 4 years, while grocery consumption volumes have actually gone down. And our Canadian grocery sector is even more concentrated than in the U.S. So what we're reacting to is the predatory pricing.
Vice President of Policy at the National Farmers Union, Phil Mount. Really fascinating conversation this morning. We'll have you back again. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.